What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I'm, of course, your host, who does the most, Ethan Smith. Hope you guys are all having a phenomenal Tuesday, September 20th. And on today's episode, as you can see on the bottom ticker, if you are on YouTube, we are going to be previewing a two-game series against the New York Yankees. These teams met earlier this year, and the Pittsburgh Pirates surprisingly split the series. Of course, both teams on very different ends of the spectrum, so we'll talk about what I expect from the Pirates here to begin the episode, know your opponent about the Yankees, and then more about this series today on this episode of Locked On Pirates. My name, of course, is Ethan Smith. You can follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or follow this podcast on Twitter at Locked On Pirates. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day every single day. On tomorrow's episode, to give you guys a kind of blueprint for the week, we're going to talk about Roansy Contreras and his first start heading back to New York against the Yankees on Thursday. We're going to recap this, or we're going to preview the weekend series, and then on Friday we'll have a recap of this series with Stacey Gotsulias of Locked On Yankees. But with that said, guys, let's get into today's episode as we preview this short two-game set against the Bronx Bombers.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to that Pirates podcast, everybody. As of course mentioned in the intro, I am Ethan Smith, your host who does the most, the host of the Locked On Pirates podcast. Again, hope you guys are all having a fun, healthy, and beautiful Tuesday, September 20th. Wherever you may be listening, you can listen to this podcast on all platforms like Spotify, Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and of course YouTube, where you can find this podcast every day, Monday through Friday, and in the off season, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's going to be a busy off season, and the Pittsburgh Pirates season is coming to a close, and they are facing the hardest opponent they will probably face for the remainder of the year, with series remaining against the Cubs, the Reds, and the Cardinals. But the Pirates face the Yankees tonight, and it's following a 4-hit outing from Aaron Judge, and this is also following a series to forget already in New York against the Mets, where the Pirates could not score more than 3 runs against the New York Mets. One of those games was close, I'd say, and that was the Friday game when they lost 4-3. They got a great outing from Mitch Keller. It is undecided on who the Pirates are going to be pitching this evening. If you had to bank on it for me, it'll be a bullpen game or Luis Ortiz, who was just recalled due to JT Brubaker basically being shut down for the year. And then, of course, tomorrow we get Luis Severino and Roansy Contreras on the mound tomorrow for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nestor Cortez will be going live for the New York Yankees tonight. And as far as this series concerns me, I just want to see the Pirates be competitive in New York. New York is a very tough place to go play. It's a very tough team to play as the Yankees sit at 88-58, minus 350 favorites tonight with an over-under of 8.5 if you want to use betonline.ag to do any of your betting. It's one of those series where I think as a blueprint for what I'd want to see, I want to see the starting pitching and the pitching in general do well against a strong Yankees lineup that has had its struggles this year. Aaron Judge, of course, already the most home runs by a right-handed hitter in American League history. He's hunting for 61. He's currently at 59 right now. Maybe he does it against the Pirates. I just don't see it. But this Yankees lineup as a whole has had its issues this year. It has had those moments where they struggled, hence why the AL East race got a lot closer recently with Toronto at 5.5 games back and Tampa Bay at 6.5 games back. If you guys didn't know, the Toronto Blue Jays are my favorite team in the AL. I love the Toronto Blue Jays. I have had a liking for them for a very long time. So I would like the Pirates to directly help Toronto here in this series. How do they do it? Well, attack hitters and pitch well. Pretty much attack everybody except Aaron Judge is what I would say. Go right at these guys, attack them, make their lives hell, and hitting wise, just have a pulse. You didn't have it against New York or the Mets. The Mets, of course, a very good team. You had one against Cincinnati where you got that 4-game sweep. You were okay against the Cardinals, but bring back that Cincinnati Reds feel that you had. Bring that back. Bring that back to where you could say, okay, let's go out there and score runs for our pitchers so that they don't feel so much pressure to not even give up a run in New York against a strong Yankees team. Now, of course, this is an uphill battle for the Pirates to fight, as if you heard me and Gary speak yesterday on our episode recapping the New York Mets series and the Key Brian Hayes Sunflower debacle. That series was really just the Mets overmatching the Pirates in every form of the game. The Yankees can easily do it here over the course of 2 games, but the Pirates have already proven that they can beat this team, albeit it was in PNC Park. They have proven that they can beat this team, but they've also proven that they can get curb stomped by this team like they did in the second game. So keys to victory, I think, again, go to the fact that whoever is pitching tonight just needs to pitch a very good game. That includes relief pitching. And I'm fully expecting Rowanzi to have a good outing tomorrow, but we'll go way more into that tomorrow about his first start against his former team. And again, I will reiterate the point that I've reiterated this entire time. Just look competitive in this series. I don't want to see 9-0 and 8-2 in both of these games. I want to see them make the Yankees work for it. Make the Yankees struggle a little bit. Make them say, okay, we are facing a pushover team, but it doesn't feel like it. You've seen that with other teams across the league, like the Chicago Cubs at times, like the Cincinnati Reds at times, like some of the teams in the AL Central and the AL West that have had their struggles. I want the Pirates to go into this series thinking we have nothing to lose, because at this point you don't. You're already mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, obviously, but also go into Yankee Stadium and maybe get a win and help yourself out with what would help the players a lot by not getting 100 losses. As Gary said yesterday, and as I said yesterday, you might as well improve numerically. That's going to be the best way this team can move forward. Improve your record numerically. And the Pirates, again, they have a chance to make some noise in the series. Of course, it's a 7:05 start, 2 night games, just 2 games against this Yankees team, and then they go back to they either go back to PNC. Yes, they go back to PNC for their final homestand against the Cubs, the Reds, and then they go to St. Louis and then come back for the final series of the year. Really, it's just going to be neutralizing Aaron Judge, attacking these Yankees pitchers, because if you get these Yankees pitchers time to settle in and they settle into the game, good luck. Good luck if they settle into the game, because it is not going to be pretty for you at the end of the day if the Yankees do settle in and make things happen. I'm predicting that the Yankees sweep this series, but before we get into that and more about predictions, I want to let you guys know about the wonderful people over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. And it's very easy to create a job post on LinkedIn. As I just mentioned, all you have to do is add your job and a hashtag hiring frame, and people will know that you are on the look for some great employees. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. With the year coming to a close pretty soon and the holiday season just around the corner, you want to find the right team member that might help you do that and have a strong end of the year. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So, the Yankees come into this series on the heels of another series against a NL Central team in the Milwaukee Brewers, who gained some ground on the San Diego Padres with a 2 out of 3 win against the New York Yankees. The Yankees, of course, winning the final game of that series to avoid the sweep and a 12-8 slobber knocker that saw Aaron Judge have 4 hits as he hit his 58th and 59th home runs against Milwaukee in a game that featured 28 hits between the teams. And the Pirates will avoid the 2 Yankees aces, I would say, the Yankees ace and Garrett Cole, but they will avoid Jameson Taillon and Garrett Cole in this series. As I mentioned before, they will be facing Luis Severino and Nestor Cortez. Nestor Cortez, I think, could feast on this Pirates lineup purely because he is a lefty. I think that's going to be the biggest reason why he's going to have success in this series. And the Yankees as a whole, I mean, you look at the stats that they have right now. Of course, Aaron Judge is the highlight, but when it really counts and goes down to all of it, this lineup, again, has its moments. It has its very big games. It has its stuff going on. But again, which Yankees lineup are we going to see in this series? I think that's the biggest thing that you have to talk about here. Which Yankees lineup are you going to see in the series? Are you going to see the Yankees lineup that the Yankees posted on Sunday with 16 hits and multiple home runs against the Brewers, who have a pretty strong coaching staff still? Or are you going to get the Saturday New York Yankees lineup that lost 4-1 to the Brewers and the offense was pretty much silent for what it was worth? This Yankees team is very, very interesting because they are good. They are a very good team. Do they have the tools to make a World Series run? Yes, they do. But are they consistent? That's why, if anything, for the Pirates down the stretch of the season, what I'm really asking for from them right now, just be consistent. Pitch well. If your offense isn't going to play well, cool. But at least pitch well. Pirates have done that for the most part against teams they should. The New York Mets, of course, gave them hell. But the New York Yankees, again, like the Mets also, have had their inconsistencies this year. Do the Pirates take advantage if they get to face those inconsistencies? I think that's the biggest thing to talk about here. And to talk about Aaron Judge for a second, I mean, the guy has been insane. He's in a contract year. He's trying to catch number 61 in home runs. He already got 58 and 59 the other evening. I'm sure people will have their eyes pinned on this Pirates-Yankees series, as this is the easiest team by record that the Yankees will face for the remainder of the year. They do face the Rangers at the end of the year, but I could see Aaron Judge get this under wraps. And it would be even more ironic if it happens to Pittsburgh, because they've already given up Pujols' tying home run to Alex Rodriguez. They've already been no hit this year against the Cincinnati Reds in a game in which they won. So it would kind of just continue the train of thought that the Pirates have issues. And Aaron Judge, it's going to be very interesting to see what he does in free agency this year. I really do wonder what he's going to do, if he's going to stay in New York, which he probably will, or if he's going to chase the money and go elsewhere. The Yankees are going to offer him a pretty hefty contract. I think we all know that. But where does he go? And if there's anything that I think the Pirates can take from this Yankees team, starting pitching is paramount, especially when your offense is struggling. You look at the starting pitching that this team has, even losing Jordan Montgomery, Garrett Cole, Jameson Taillon, Nestor Cortez, Luis Severino is a pretty good four-man rotation to think about, sprinkling in a fifth in there every once in a while. Trying to think of who their fifth guy is. Not Rich Hill. Who is their fifth guy? Huh. Maybe I don't watch enough Yankees baseball. But anyways, the Pirates and the Yankees are on two different planes of existence right now. Rightfully so, because the Yankees are a big market spender. The Pirates are a low market non-spender who's been in a rebuild for the last 3 or 4 years. Where the Pirates and the Yankees, of course, come together is the recent trades they've made with Jameson Taillon and Clay Holmes. And it's interesting to see and this is why I'm very interested about the game tomorrow night, how Roansy Contreras performs against his old team. We've seen some decent things from Diego Castillo. Miguel Yajure has had his shots, but not anything great that we've seen from him. What do you really consider here when talking about where the Pirates can go versus where the Yankees can go? And that's why I like comparing these teams, because they're on two different planes of existence, but both have similar issues. Their offenses are inconsistent. Their starting pitching is rather good. Obviously, the Yankees is better, but the starting pitching for the Pirates could be better, way better. But they have some consistent guys in Mitch Keller and Roansy Contreras. And when looking at both of these teams under a microcosm, the Pirates, if they could hit more home runs, which we've seen from Rodolfo Castro, O'Neill Cruz, Brian Reynolds, etc., this year, they're going to be in a lot more ball games than you think. And that's the Yankees model. Hit home runs, get good starting pitching, do the rest. That's pretty much what's the MO of that team. That is the MO of what we will see from the Yankees over these two games. Now that we've talked about this series, as I mentioned earlier, I think the Yankees will sweep this series. I think they still win both games. I do think the Pirates in the second matchup against Luis Severino give the Yankees a little more trouble than they do to Nestor Cortez. I'm going to predict the score lines. I'd say 6-1 tonight, Yankees. I think Nestor Cortez has a good game. And then I'll say 5-4 Yankees in the second matchup where Contreras has a good start, but the bullpen can't hold on. I haven't taken a look with you guys, by the way, at the standings or across the league, by the way. Things are getting really interesting. Of course, most things still holding firm on the leaders in the divisions, the Yankees, the Guardians, the Astros, the Mets, the Cardinals, and the Dodgers all still leading their respective divisions. But when you get to the wild card, things are getting a little interesting. Toronto, of course, holding the first wild card right now in the American League. They're about a half game up on Tampa Bay, who holds the second wild card, while Seattle is holding firm on the third wild card, with Baltimore about 5 games back. So not out of it, but starting to falter a little bit. Chicago, the White Sox still 5.5 back. Minnesota still hoping for any chance of catching the Guardians, which probably will not happen, as well as the White Sox, who are only 4 games back, which is where that AL Central gets very interesting, because if the Guardians do falter at any point, you're not only talking about losing the division, you're talking about losing a playoff spot. That's how bad the NL Central has been, or AL Central has been this year. Of course, Boston 71-75, 10 games back, basically eliminated. And then the official eliminated teams, the Angels, the Rangers, the Royals, Detroit, and Oakland, all just finishing out their year. We look at the eliminators here in the NL. Of course, it features the Nationals, the Pirates, the Reds, Miami, the Cubs, and the Rockies. The Giants and the Diamondbacks will likely be joining both of those teams pretty soon. Giants 70-77, 10.5 back. The Diamondbacks 12.5 back at 68-79. The Braves or the Mets will be the top wild card. There's no catching either of those teams. Those teams have pretty much both clinched themselves a playoff spot. San Diego, a half game up on Philadelphia right now for that second wild card. But Milwaukee, only 2.5 back right now. Milwaukee kind of lurking in the bottom in that spot, and I think that's going to be the funnest race to watch down the stretch, to see if Milwaukee can catch Philly or San Diego. Of course, we know Philly, longest standing drought in the National League for the playoffs right now, so they are definitely wanting to clamor and get back in there. And I think the only thing that's going to stop Milwaukee from catching them is if you take a look at the Brewers right now, they have a terrible road record, 37-40. And they have 4 games at Cincinnati, but they end the season mostly at home. I believe they're at home quite a bit, actually. Um, so maybe it won't hurt them as bad. I thought they were on the road a little bit more, but maybe it won't hurt them as bad as I thought. It's going to be interesting. to see how these playoffs play out. Because, I mean, if you look at it right now, the Yankees would be playing the the Yankees would be playing the Guardians, I believe, in the first series, or the Guardians would be playing, so I forget how the playoffs work, trust me. Right now, if you had to ask me, I do think there's a strong possibility that we do get a rematch of last year's World Series, which I know would be very boring for us Pirates fans. But that Astros team is very good again. The Braves are also very good again. I think it's going to come down to the Braves and the Mets in the National League. The Dodgers, of course, I know they have 102 wins. But something about the Braves, man. They have a very good team. Young stars all over the place. Ronald Acuna, Michael Harris, Vaughn Grisham, Ozzie Albies will be back in 2 weeks. Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Travis d'Arnaud. Crazy lineup. But of course, we'll be getting more into all of this stuff and keeping track of the playoffs as the season comes to a close. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Enjoy the game this evening against the New York Yankees. I will be back tomorrow recapping tonight's game as well as previewing Roansy Contreras' start tomorrow against his former team. With that said, guys, make sure you go check out Locked on MLB and Locked on MLB Prospects with Paul Francis Sullivan and Lindsey Crosby. And guys, I am Ethan Smith, your host who does the most, and I will see you guys on the flip side.